Yes, as I was stating previously, with how I derive my pronunciations and the rules is basically by studying other Semitic languages and other languages that are closely related to Hebrew or have had some contact with Semitic languages as well as Hebrew. Two languages that I relied upon heavily in my comparison, well, a few languages. I say four major languages I use to compare my studies in uh, very heavily are different forms of modern Hebrew, uh, like Sephardi, which is mainly Palestinian Hebrew. Uh, if you do some linguistic studies back, um, uh, Yemenite Hebrew, which is mainly gets many pronunciations and traditions from Babylonian Aramaic. So I threw much of that out. Um, Classical Arabic, just pronunciations and rules and letters. Also modern Arabic. Um, a, a little bit of, well, at least with the rules of Amharic and Ge'ez, at least how it's written, because it was a Semitic language that was basically uncorrupted from century to century, at least in the fact that its people continually spoke it in Ethiopia. Well, Ge'ez, although died out, Amharic came from Ge'ez and uses the same writing system. So the pronunciation in Amharic stayed the same, at least in literature, and was preserved by once a certain period in time came, they began to input the syllabic vowel system. Amharic uses it's a syllabate, which means instead of just separate consonants and vowels, a consonant would be like B, D, G, uh, H, and vowels, which would be like A, E, I, O, and U. They all of them are together and they cannot be apart. So you would have like Babu, Bi, Ba, Be, Bo, Bo, Kaku, Ki, Ka, Ke, Ka, Ko, Cha, Chu, Chi, Cha, Che, Cha, Cho, and so on and so forth. Um, so there seems to be quite a bit of evidence on how things would be pronounced um, with and without vowels, because each form has a basic form where the model for the basic syllabate, which is uh like b, k, d. That's the first syllabic form, and it depending on where it can be in a word, it can be either pronounced as or eh. Um, there are numerous examples of this, and since this is a Hebrew lesson, I don't want to get you guys all boggled down with it. But I'll bring out my hard book at a later time. I don't want to put many things in your head. Just give you an explanation of where I get my derivations from. Um, Also, uh, in comparison to that, um, I looked at a lot of things of how modern Israeli Hebrew is pronounced and saw that there's a basic structure to every Hebrew word, um, which is the letters. I have an example here. Uh, it's kind of sloppy. I have some scribble down on there. Really wasn't going to use this example, but I guess I'll just mention it. At the top, you have Elohi or Elohai, and then I wrote it in Paleo as well. And the third one at the bottom is incomplete. And if you see there's on the side by the scribbles, there's I basically wrote Osei and Asa in Hebrew. That's Hebrew cursive, modern Israeli Hebrew cursive. And basically, there's a basic structure to every Hebrew word, but there are these certain things called nikudotes. Let me just add some for you. I know it's a little sloppy, but Asa is basic. Osei. As you can see here, although it's very sloppy, near the cursive, which is here, I wrote a one dot above the vav, which pronounces the O sound, and three dots below the shin, which pronounces the A sound. I'm not going to give you the names of all the dots. You can go to Hebrew for Christians or even the Hebrew Research Center.org to learn these things. That's just two of the sources I've used. The numerous, like the Jewish Library, I believe it's called, online library, and other sources. Um, so each Hebrew word has a basic structure, but then there are nicodotes in there, and the nicodotes, which are those little dots, basically dictate the pronunciation of each word. And I found that these nicodotes were added by the Mizrahites, which were scribes between the 7th and 11th century, which added these pronunciations to so-called preserved tradition, but they corrupted much of it, like changing the letter wow into vav. So basically, much of my derivation is getting rid of all nicodotes. Yes, I said it for anyone who is a modern Israeli Hebrew speaker. I'm getting rid of all nicodotes and throwing away nicodote pronunciation almost totally, except to observe a few rules. Um, Basically, by doing this, I'd have to find how the Hebrew script should be pronounced with just its consonants, which not all of them are purely consonants. Some of them are semi-vowels, like wow and like ayin, uh, which I believe is really ran, and uh, the its vowel half is ayin, and like yad, um, and I believe I wouldn't really classify hey as a semi-vowel, but sort of. So basically, Aleph, Aleph would be a vowel indicator, and I saw that in certain positions, Aleph, when coupled with other letters, produce certain sounds. So Aleph really had no sound but and like the first letter in the first syllabic order in Amharic. So I gave the pronunciation of and to Aleph. But where coupled with semi-vowels like wow and yad, I gave it those the pronunciations associated with those two letters, and also with when coupled with hey, I gave it the ah sound, and with line, uh, well, line is irrelevant to that. So basically, when it's coupled with when it's by itself, it pronounces the ah and the s sound. When it's coupled with vav, it pronounces the o sound. O, o, like when you have in Amharic, I believe I wrote it here at the bottom. There's the N and a W with the U, reading from left to right. There's the N, which is the exact same N in ancient in Paleo Hebrew, actually, and then the a W which has a U at the end, and it pronounces the no. So really, there's no true O in Hebrew, in Paleo Hebrew. I believe I've derived, but it's a diphthong, which is similar to an O, like in Arabic, where you have the same letter, which is wow. It could be pronounced as a wa and u, or a diphthong sound. And a diphthong is basically when you have two sounds, like in uh, I, or lie, or boy e. When you're saying a boy, as in a little boy, it's basically two vowels that float into each other, almost a glide. So basically, it's the same thing, a very similar thing to Arabic, and that's where I derived that. Next, I'll continue on my next clip.